Hey everyone, I'm Cody. I just want to share a personal testimony with you guys. I guess to start, the way I was raised in a predominantly a Baptist home. My mom was a Baptist. My father, however, was not Christian until much later in my life. I was in and out of churches pretty much all the years of growing up. My great-grandmother used to take me and my sisters to church a lot, and then we also had neighbors that would take us to church almost every Sunday. I wasn't saved until I was probably 12 years old. I remember sitting on my bed, and I just had a question pop in my mind about where I was going to go if I died. And the question really bothered me because I wasn't sure. I mean, this isn't something that a 12-year-old would normally think about. But it was on my mind, and I had to ask the question. So I remember calling my mom into my room, and she asked me if I wanted to be saved. And I wasn't sure what that even meant. And she explained it to me. And I told her, I said, yes, I'd like to be saved. I called my Aunt Dawn, and she said the sinner's prayer with me. And I just remember how I felt through that whole experience. It was really kind of a turning point in my life where Christ got a hold of me at a young age. I wasn't really living for God, though, the years that followed. My parents actually ended up going through a pretty bad divorce when I was 16 years old, and that was tough. And I actually ended up getting into the partying lifestyle, hanging around people that really wasn't good influences on me. And, just to think if I would have been living right, how much easier their separation would have been for me. But I got through that stage in my life, and I started college, and I just remember at the beginning of my college career having a lot of anxiety and depression. It was really, something that was almost crippling because, my anxiety was just fears of things that I couldn't control. And I ended up dating a girl in college, and I thought that, maybe that was just my problem. I just had too much time on my hands, and I needed somebody to hang out with. And that relationship wasn't right, and it really didn't help my anxiety. It actually just made it worse. And I remember it was around Christmas, and I told my mom about a week before Christmas Day. I told her, I was like, if there's anything I do at the end of this week, I was like, I want to make sure I go to church. I was just struggling with anxiety that just wouldn't seem to stop, and the only thing that I felt like would even help was having a relationship with God and getting in His will. And I'm really thankful that my mom was a Christian woman and is a Christian woman, because through my anxiety and my depression, she always pointed me to God when I would talk to her about it. So I ended up going to church, and it was a really big church. It was a church I'd never been to before in my life. And I drove up, and I parked in the parking lot, and I thought to myself, I was like, this church is huge. I only know one family that went there, and it was actually the guy that invited me a few months before. And I was terrified. I didn't want to walk in there by myself, and I remember just saying a prayer right before I walked in. And I felt like God told me, like, you take the first step, and I'm going to carry you the rest of the way. I took that first step, and I started going to church regular, and my anxiety started to get easier. And it was just just this overwhelming peace that just washed over me. I mean, it was just something that I didn't even think was possible. But it just goes to show how good God really is, and that He can take anything that seems awful and turn it good. And I don't believe there's anything that God can't do, because I've seen it in my own life through my anxiety and my depression. And now that I'm back into wanting to have a relationship with the Lord, that's all I want to do the rest of my life, is to walk closer with God. And hopefully He'll continue to draw me into His will and to show me what His plan is for my life. It's just been tremendous blessings for me and my family. Through everything. And I'm just so thankful that God never gave up on me, and that even when things were rough with my mom and dad's divorce, and I wasn't pursuing God, He was pursuing me. I guess that's all I have to say for my testimony.